and of course the ones in circulation, we are learning all that, how to dispose the mask, for how long should we be using one mask, which one is reusable, which ones are disposable. Welcome to our studios. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Omondi.
Thank you very much, Purity.
Yes. Yeah.
To begin this discussion, I think I need to set it into context by first of all explaining why we need to use the mask.
Yes.
A mask in its context is a physical barrier that keeps away the microorganisms that have been deposited into the environment by a sick person. In our case, a person confirmed to be suffering from COVID-19.
Right.
Yes.
So let's talk about different types of masks. Of course, we're talking about the WHO standard masks.
Yeah, we have different types of masks, and I have a series of them that I carried to demonstrate. There are those masks that are restricted in use, and those are called respirators. And the respirators that I have, one of them is called N95. The N95 mask is a preserve of the healthcare providers who actually work in isolation centers and are in contact with the confirmed cases of COVID-19. They are restricted because they are also expensive and we cannot access them easily. So it is recommended that we leave them to health workers who are at a high risk of contacting COVID-19 while they are undertaking their duties. I will explain briefly for how to use the N95.
Probably before you explain how to use, you can also have, because I'm seeing you have other types on your desk.
Alongside the N95, we have the surgical mask, which is also a respirator and is also classified as a good kind of protective device that is recommended for use by health workers who are actually in contact with suspected cases and also confirmed cases of COVID-19 virus.
Right.
Yes.
I'm seeing a third mask.
The third mask that I have, which I will talk more about, is the cloth face covering. It is called the cloth face covering, which is homemade and locally made. And this is the most recommended for our community members who are down there and who cannot access the surgical mask that I've just talked about. Now, this cloth face mask, it is recommended that it should be made purely of cotton, 100% cotton. This 100% cotton is recommended because it is breathable and also it is easier to make at home. Then we are recommending that it should be packaged for one single user. So when the manufacturer does these ones, they should all be tied together and packaged in a package just for one person. It should not be sold for many other people, or it should not be sold in singles. So this mask needs to be used, and I'm going to demonstrate how it is supposed to be used to the general community.
Yes, we'll get to that.
Yes.
I'm seeing a fourth type of mask.
Yes, the fourth type of mask is what we call a dust mask. This dust mask has no business in prevention of COVID-19 virus. It simply can protect you from the dust, and it is recommended for people who are working in industries and are generating a lot of dust so that they are not able to inhale the dust. It cannot really filter the virus that is of the nature of COVID-19.
Right.
Yes.
So quickly, maybe probably before we talk, we demonstrate, or you demonstrate for us how to use the mask. Take us through the danger of using a mask that is not recommended by the Ministry of Health or WHO as far as preventing COVID-19 is concerned.
Okay, the dangers of using masks which are not recommended, or even the danger of using a recommended mask but not in the right way, is that it is equivalent to not using a mask, because it will not provide the protection that is expected to be achieved by the mask. So all these masks, if not used properly, then it is as equivalent as not using a mask. The masks that are not recommended by WHO, For example, the dust mask is not recommended for our case as in control of COVID-19 because, as I said earlier, it is only controlling dust. The particles, the filter which is inside here can easily allow microorganisms to get in. And so when you put on this one, you are still not protected against COVID-19.
Right.
And even if I was a patient who actually is supposed to prevent my cough, my sneeze, when I'm talking, the aerosols from coming out, this may still not protect the aerosols from coming out from my mouth.
Yeah.
So it will not perform the function required. Yes.
Another question before we get to the demonstration. Let's say you've said the first mask, the N95, is recommended for the healthcare workers, but there are people who've been reading about the most recommendable mask and the answer they are getting is N95. For example, if you can access or afford N95, is it also okay to use?
It's very much okay to use the N95 if you can afford it. And the question of why it is restricted is that it is scarce in the market.
Okay.
And so we give priority to our healthcare workers first,
Right.
before we now can allow the general public to use it. Because you could afford, but when you go for it, you are risking the life of that person dealing with the patient in the isolation ward.
All right.
Because if he misses that, he may not be able to work.
Sure.
If he is not working, our patients will not be treated, and the disease will just spread.
Okay, so for the three recommended masks, probably you can take us through how to use them, beginning with which one? The N95?
I will explain briefly how to use the N95, and as I said, it is majorly preserved for the healthcare providers, the first-line workers who are in contact with the patients. And even if I demonstrate, I don't encourage the general public to use this kind of mask. And for you to use the kind of mask, there is this metallic strip which is facing up, and then there is the filter which is down at the center. We have the two straps, the upper strap and the lower strap. So you position the two straps very well on your hand, then you bring it slowly to your mouth and drive the lower strap down below your ears. Then you pick the upper strap and put it on top of your ears. Then after that, you can now use the metallic strap, which should be aligning itself to the nose bridge. So you fix it using your two fingers properly well, and you ensure that you can breathe properly well. Then you need to perform a test that can allow you to know whether you are protected well, there is nothing coming in through any other point, and that you are also able to breathe into it, not outside. So you take in breath and out. If there is nothing coming out, you know you are protected very well.
Right.
Yeah.
And probably before putting on the mask, you need to have cleaned your hands,
Yes,
I presume?
yes,
Yeah?
yes. Before you touch any protective equipment, any mask, you first of all need to do your hand sanitization or hand washing. And for this case, we do not have the running water, but I have my hand sanitizer,
Yeah.
the alcohol-based hand rub. And I will just demonstrate briefly what should be done. I will put the sanitizer well and do the rounds of hand hygiene. That will be my first step. The second step is to come to the upper part of both hands. Then I will run into my fingers like this, properly well. You do it thoroughly, that will be the third step. After that, then I will now go into the inner side, do it very well, both sides. Then I will get into the fingers as they entangle to make sure that I remove anything that is within there properly well. That will be my fifth step. Then my sixth step will be the thumbs. You do it properly well, the thumbs, do it very well. Take your time to do it. And you do both thumbs. Then finally you finish with your wrists, because these are the points which are normally missed while you are cleaning yourself.
Right.
Once I do that, then I can now touch the PPEs or the masks. Yes.
Let's finish up with the N95. How do you dispose it?
So-
Actually, how long should you use it before thinking of not disposing because they are usable? Before thinking of
This
changing?
N95
Yeah.
as it stands, it is single use.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
So it is used, and when a procedure is finished, and as I said, it is used by health workers specifically. So when a procedure is finished, everything is completed, then the health worker will now need to put it off. And for you to put it off, you will begin by sanitizing your hands the way I've done.
Yes.
Then you move to the area where you are going to dispose of it. Yeah, remember we were donning here. So we are now going to doff at a different station, which is called the dirty area. And when you are there, you do hand sanitization properly. Then you bend yourself a bit. Always remember not to touch the outer surface of the mask. So you bend and trace the lower strap down like that. Then also straight the upper one and leave it to fall down.
Yes.
So that is the recommended method of removing that kind of mask.
All right.
Yes.
Then we get to the surgical mask, because I'm seeing they are being used mostly in institutions, Kenyans in urban setup.
Yes, for the surgical mask, which I've also said is a preserve of healthcare providers, but for those who use it in the community, it is good to be keen about it. You need to understand the inner and the outer surface. So the blue part is the outer surface, and the white part is the inner surface. The top part is where the metallic strip is, and the lower part has no metallic strip. And this kind of a mask has 3 layers. These 3 layers, the outer layer is supposed to prevent any liquid, any fluid coming in. Then the middle layer is the filter that now filters the viruses, the bacteria, and all other microorganisms. Then the inner layer, which is in contact with my nose, for example, is meant to protect the liquids, the fumes that come from my nose and mouth to remain here, not to pass outside. Once again, for you to don this, you must perform hand hygiene properly the way we have demonstrated here. And after that, you will position yourself and look at this metallic strip, put it on your nose, and tie the upper ties slightly ahead on top of your head. Then you will tie the lower part around your neck. At this level, you adjust to cover the nose very well, adjust to your chin, and make sure that the mask is covering everywhere, that your nose and your mouth is fully covered properly well. Make sure that the strip aligns itself to the nose bridge to help you breathe, and make sure also that you are breathing normally. Now, to remove this mask, you also begin with the lower ties.
Right.
You go to the doffing area or the area where you are removing and begin with the lower one. Then you go to the upper one and leave it to fall.
Yeah.
In that process, remember not to get in touch with the outer surface, because if you are in an environment where the virus is, it is presumed that the virus is already settling on this outer surface. So then this is a disposable mask. So you dispose it appropriately where it should be taken to.
Yeah. So let's quickly talk about that surgical mask. Probably how long, because they're disposable and they're also being used in different institutions. For how long or how many should you use in a day?
I think these surgical masks should be used maximally for like 4 hours.
Okay.
If you have them in supply for those who are in the public domain. But if you are not able to get them, then you use it for a day. But then we recommend that we also preserve them for our healthcare providers. And because they are in shortage of supply, we encourage the general public to try and use the cloth face covering.
All right, so let's demonstrate how to go about the cloth.
So
Is it reusable?
the cloth face covering is reusable.
Okay.
It is supposed to be packaged, as I said, so they are not supposed to be sold anyhow in the environment or singly. So it has to come as a package from the distributors that have been accredited by the government. We are not supposed to buy them from any other Tom, Dick, and Harry, because then we are supposed to check the quality, we are supposed to check the safety, and we are also supposed to check hygiene. So if we leave this to any other Tom, Dick, and Harry, we will be compromising the hygiene, we will also be compromising the quality, and we will be compromising the safety of the general public.
Yeah.
Yes.
That looks easier to wear.
Yes. For this one, and it has got those 3 plies, you only need to put it on your mouth and nose, then pass it over your ears and adjust. Adjust very well to cover your nose and your mouth. Of course, checking that there is no space that is left that can bring in any kind of microorganism. So it should fit tightly, but make sure that you are also able to breathe comfortably while you are in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll stay with that mask on. There are a few questions I want to ask you, Omondi.
Okay.
There's a story that had been done by my colleague, Kamche Menza, and the issue of, for example, you're putting on the mask and then you want to eat or you want to take water. There's some people who are just putting them or just below their chin or on their forehead. Maybe you can tell us, how do you, for example, when you want to do an activity that involves eating or even drinking water, how do you store it? Does it mean you have, if it's the disposable one, you have to dispose it and take another one? Or how do I keep safely keep it before I reuse it after a few minutes, I think, or seconds?
Yeah, I've also seen many people hanging it around the neck, others putting it on top of the head. But I would recommend that, as I said, we should not touch the outer surface of this mask. Therefore, the moment you hang it on your neck, then the outer surface is already in touch with your clothing. Can also be in touch with your skin, can also be in touch with your head. So it would be advisable that when you want to take tea, you want to take food, and you are on a surface, what you can do is to make sure that the surface you are nearer to is well sterilized.
Yeah.
Then you can remove it and place it, of course, with the outer touching on the surface, so that the inner is properly covered. Then after that, you can wash your hands once again if you want to reuse it, and put it up again and use it. Yes.
So it's a no to putting it?
It's a no for hanging it, because you are already contaminating yourself again. Yes.
So for the reusable ones, let's talk about them. How do you clean them or make sure that they are not contaminated? And when we talk about reusing, if, for example, I assume I buy only 3 and I can be alternating, is it okay? Am I fine if I only have 3 and I'm using them for the entire time when this coronavirus pandemic is over?
Yes, you can buy 3, you can use them alternately, but it is important to understand that this is reusable and it is also washable.
Okay.
So then it needs to be washed as frequently as you can, but there are also some parameters that you need to check within itself. One, if it is already having some liquids or it is dirty, then it needs to be washed and sterilized. When it has some cracks, then it means you have to dispose of it, because it will not help you very well. In washing it, locally at the community, we can use hot water and soap so that we sterilize it very well, and then you can air it in the sun to dry for a given time of 8 hours. Then after that, you can come and reuse it. But one question that I didn't mention as I began putting it on is that this cloth covering is made of cloth material which is processed in the industry. So before you can use it, it is critical that you need to wash it thoroughly. Before the initial use, it needs to be washed very, very well, then dried, and then you can use it.
Right.
So those of us who get it outside there and use, we are also exposing ourselves to some chemicals which could be harmful to ourselves. Yes.
All right, and about because for the availability, you are the head of the Division of Occupation in the Ministry of Health. Probably let's talk about the availability of masks. Many Kenyans have been asking, where do we get these masks? They are a little bit expensive. Probably you can address that.
Okay, where to get the masks? I think the government has already accredited about 3 companies that are processing these homemade masks. We are aware that there is Kitui County Textile Center, which produces like 1,200 masks per day. We have Rivertex in Eldoret, which is also producing. And we have our National Youth Service that is producing both the surgical and the homemade mask for the general population to use.
Okay.
As we move forward, I think the prisons department will also be producing. But of course, they are produced, accredited, and checked by KEBS, the Kenya Bureau of Standards for quality.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, there's one of our viewers, Omondi, who is asking, you talked about the reusable masks, so how do I store them at home?
Storage at home, it has to have a package of its own, so that you also don't mix it with others. For example, what you have used should not go into what has not been used. So you will need to have a packaging material for the used masks that need to be processed, as in washing and sterilizing. So then after sterilizing, you also need to take them into a clean package, because that is now clean for use again.
Yeah.
Yes.
Another question coming from our viewer, can Purity ask guests if the user can wash their face before wearing the mask?
Really, yes, hygiene around the face is very important, but the critical important thing is the hands. Hand hygiene is very critical. So if we don't perform hand hygiene, even if you wash your face, then you are doing zero work.
Yeah.
Because it is believed it is the hands that will pick the virus into your face. Yes.
So Omondi, who should use the mask? We are talking about, of course I know people if you are going to a public place, but there's also the issue of children. We've seen many families or parents walking around with their children with no mask, but we're seeing the mother or father is wearing a mask. Probably you can address the issue of children putting on masks?
Yes. First of all, we have recommended some measures to control this disease. And those underlying principal measures are very critical. The mask comes in last, and it comes in when you are moving to a public place, when you are going to a supermarket, when you are going to open air market, when you are going to border sheds. Those are the areas where we need to use masks. And we are using these masks because, as it is now, the virus is everywhere. And you cannot know who has it and who does not have it. So then everybody else needs to be protected. But now this cloth covering, we are warned that children under the age of 2 should not be given the mask, or the mask should not be put on their nose. So that is one person that should not use the cloth covering. Number 2, anybody who has a history of difficulty in breathing, for example, the asthmatic people, should not use the cloth covering. Any person in the community who is unconscious is not supposed to use the cloth covering. And anybody who in one way or another is unable to remove the cloth covering should also not use the cloth covering.
All right. Another important question from, again, our viewer. How do I know? Actually, they think, they imagine that is the only mask with that, the color of the mask that means that is made of cotton. So how do I know that the mask is made of, the reusable cloth mask is made of cotton? How am I able to differentiate the fake ones from the recommended ones?
Yeah, in the package where now the manufacturers and the processors are doing the packaging, they display the content and the material that is used. So whether it comes in blue color, in that package it will be 100% cotton, so you are able to see on that package that it is cotton. Yes.
Okay. And then for maybe companies or institutions that want to procure the masks, probably I am asking you to repeat yourself. There is some of the companies that were mentioned by the head of state when he was making his address. Yes. For example, the Shona company, the EPZ. If you want to go about procuring or getting these masks, who do we get in touch with? Is it the Minister of Health? Do you contact them directly? You know.
For anybody going into the act of manufacturing or processing the masks, then they will have to go as per the standards by KEBS. But Ministry of Health has the greater technical advice for these guys on how to get this one out. Yes. So the Ministry of Health advises Kenya Bureau of Standards on what standards we require for this.
All right.
And that is how now we came up with cotton 100%. Because of its qualities. You can easily breathe in it, and it can also easily be accessed.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Before I ask you this final question from our viewer, is asking us to summarize on the do's and don'ts when you're using the mask. There are, of course, maybe you can clarify on the cotton made masks, because they are masks being sold out here. First, what's your comment about them? They are masks being sold out here on the streets. Should we be buying these masks? Sometimes you want to get to put on that mask because you do not want to be caught by the police. What's your advice on people buying masks from the streets, or people getting into the business of manufacturing and making these masks?
Yeah, Purity, as I said earlier, that these masks need to be packaged. And so I would advise the community members to go for packaged materials. Don't go for single materials because you do not know where it has come from. Packaging would also help you understand that it is the recommended material that you need. Packaging will also give you some instructions on how to use it. But if you go for loose hanging cloths, then you may not have those instructions provided. Then going back to your question on the do's and don'ts, I think I said earlier that for you to use this mask, you must wash it thoroughly first. Then for you to put it on, you must wash your hands or sanitize your hands using alcohol-based sanitizer. Hand hygiene is very critical before you use it. Then after donning it, you are also told that you don it and make it comfortable so that you can be able to breathe without restrictions. That is one of the do's. When I come to don'ts, and one bigger thing that I mentioned that the public need to understand are the categories of people who should not use this mask. And I mentioned children under age of 2, I mentioned people with problems in breathing, I mentioned unconscious people, I mentioned people who have difficulties and who cannot remove the mask by themselves. Then the next thing that you are not supposed to do is to touch the outer surface of this mask. So you need not to touch it. The other thing that I need to mention here is that this mask, once I use it myself, nobody else should use it. Even if it is reusable by myself, not even a member of my family. It is meant for me. And then the other thing that I need to warn the general public is the manner in which people go testing for fit the masks.
Yeah.
We are warning them that when you pick a mask and put it on, it remains yours. Let it not be returned for somebody else to buy. And that is why we are trying to encourage members to buy them in packages. Because there you buy a package and you go and try. And as you are putting it, make sure that it is of your size, the right size, and the fit. I think those are the don'ts that we need to observe.
Okay,
the last
right.
point is the disposal, which we can talk about elaborately another day.
Yeah.
But for
I
now,
can quickly mention.
yes, but for now, they need to be disposed of separately from the general waste, because we consider it to be having infectious material. So every other household needs to prepare to have a small waste package for the used masks, which is separate from the ordinary waste that we normally have. For example, in Nairobi, the estates are provided with bin liners which are black. We may recommend that at this point in time, they provide 2 bin liners, the red and the black. So this red one will advise them how it is going to be picked and disposed of in the right way.
Okay.
For the black one, they can do it the way they have always done. Now, at the community level where we don't have organized estates, we recommend that the reusable one will continue to be washed, disinfected, and when it outlives its usefulness, it should be taken into a pit latrine, or they can dig a small pit that is having a cover where they can now put them inside. Because we also don't want them to be everywhere in the environment. This can also be a source or a potential source of infection.
Right.
Yes.
All right. I'm also checking more questions from our viewers because they want to learn more about the mask. Right. Peter is asking for those who cannot access the mask, especially at a village level, is there any plan by the Ministry of Health to distribute the masks, or how do we go about it?
The Ministry of Health, as we speak, is trying its level best to cover the health workers, the first line operatives who are in contact with the COVID-19 positive patients. I cannot commit myself on that, but I think this is something that can be picked up and explored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's stay with the community because you said today we're not talking about the healthcare providers.
Yes.
It's the common mwananchi.
Yes.
Most of us believe when you put on the mask, then you are safe even when you don't keep the social distance. Probably you can tell us the extent at which the mask can protect you from getting the COVID-19. Once I have my mask on, can I freely interact with people on that?
Thank you, Purity. The mask that I've been talking about that is recommended for use at the community level
is the one that you're putting on?
The one I'm putting on currently.
Yes.
I can say we cannot guarantee 100% protection. And so we advise the community to continue keeping distance, continue doing hand hygiene, and continue practicing cough etiquette, so that we don't get ourselves into problems. The mask that we are talking about is recommended again when you are going into the public where distance cannot be maintained. That is where it is recommended. But the biggest issue here is for us to keep at home. Everybody else is required to keep at home. If you have nothing to do outside there, please stay at home, so that we can cut the transmission link of this disease.
Yeah.
The disease can only be defeated at the community level. At hospital is treatment, community is transmission. If we cut the transmission link, we will succeed.
Yeah.
And that is the only way we can flatten the curve.
Yes.
Yes.
Let's put more emphasis on what to use to clean the reusable masks, kindly.
Yes, as I said, for you to clean the reusable mask, you only need a hot water and a soap. And you do it successfully well and take it to the sun to dry out there for almost 8 hours.
Yes.
You will have killed all the germs and the virus.
Joshua King is asking a very important question.
Yes.
But the virus is also transmitted through the eyes. How can we prevent it?
Okay, through the eyes, I didn't explain one thing, that what we are trying to prevent are the aerosols.
Okay.
Aerosols coming from cough, coming from sneezing, and coming from talking. Because as we do that, we can throw aerosols. These aerosols can stay in the environment, in the air, for some time. And so that is why this mask is recommended for everybody else. Yes. The limit or the extent to which our eyes can shed tears and how long it can go is still a subject of discussion. But the major areas are our nose and mouth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Again, on the use of the reusable mask, there's someone who is asking, I bought a few masks which are kitenge made. Does it mean they are not cotton made?
It depends on what a kitenge is.
Yeah.
Kitenge can be nylon, kitenge
The
can
African.
the African kitenge.
Yeah, fabric.
But we are emphasizing for this purpose that the cotton is recommended for purposes of easy breathing. There are some woven materials that may not bring in air and may also not protect you properly well. So that is why I'm saying for those of us who are buying these ones, be sure that they are packaged and you can see it is cotton. Yes. As we go on doing a lot of research and working on this, I think many more materials will be certified. When they are certified, we'll come back to public and inform them.
Yes.
Yes.
But for clarity purposes, they can come with different colors, not necessarily what you're putting on.
Yes.
Because that is the concern for many viewers.
No, they can come in different colors.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And again, you are saying that we should not be going for these masks that are on the streets. Probably we could... we might be having masks on the streets that are the recommended masks. Let's talk about the people who are selling or hawking the masks, because they could be the cotton, they're recommended by KBC, you know, they have met the KBC standard. How do we now, as we sell them on the streets, probably let's talk about the hygiene of these masks as we sell to our clients on the streets? If you're recommending that, I'm not forcing it on
Yes.
you.
It's okay.
Yeah. Or we should stop it at all.
We may not stop it, but we have to regulate it.
Yes.
Because we are regulating it purposefully for the safety, for the hygiene, and for quality. Those three things must be taken care of. And those people who actually would want to sell the masks, because this is now addressing the sellers, they are also expected to have them packaged the way I said. Why we need to package them is to rule out unscrupulous vendors who can pick what is already disposed, wash, and come to the street and sell.
Yes.
So if it is packaged and it has got, we'll agree with KBC if they can certify the packages and have their mark or the seal on the package to show that this one is recommended. Yes.
So if they do that, if they show that this one is recommended, let's talk about how now do they handle them right there on the street.
Handling, the person who is handling must always remember hand hygiene. Even if they are packaged, but hand hygiene is very critical. And then it is not supposed to be prone to frequent touches. So you can only touch what you want to pick and go with it. Let us not select, and leave the rest, because that is also another process of transmitting the virus.
Yes.
Even on the packages themselves. Yes.
All right. Another important question for the people buying their masks on the streets. You're saying that you cannot, because we've seen many people, you walk into a town, get a mask, put it on, go to work or go home. When you get the masks that are, first you're saying you're not encouraging any person to buy masks that are not packed. Just in case that happens, probably do we also need to go home and wash them with hot water and soap, or what's your recommendation?
Purity.
I know I'm asking things that you're not agreeing with,
purity,
but they are happening.
Yes,
okay,
yes,
fine.
yes.
Let me rephrase the question.
Before you rephrase,
Okay.
I can answer that.
All right.
The person who walks to town buys the mask I'm putting on and puts on is again going against my first don'ts.
Yeah.
Don't put on this mask before you wash it thoroughly. So then it requires that you pick it, go wash it, and then put it on. Yes. So then, and you cannot, that is why we are saying if you get it in a package, then you go wash it, dry it, and put it on.
Yes.
That one you will be okay. The whole thing there is to protect you now against chemicals which were used in bleaching, demacarizing, and all that. Yes.
So when you buy it, pack it, make it clear, should we not at all, as Kenyans, not buy masks right here on the streets that are not packaged?
That would be my recommendation.
Yes.
Single masks that are like this one, it should not come this way. Yeah, it should be packaged in itself, and it should not just be one, it could be many, but in a package.
Yes.
That one you can buy. If you buy this, you never know whether he used it, somebody salvaged, and is selling again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
The same with this cloth. If it is not in a package, then I would recommend that we don't buy them. We've seen several other guys trying to sell what is already used and disposed of outside there. And these are people who are not friendly to Kenyans, because what they are doing, they are aiding the spread of the virus.
All right.
Yes.
I think that point is home. Talk to companies or institutions that are, because also the disposable masks are a bit expensive.
Yes.
That's for sure. So let's talk about the reusable masks made of cotton. Probably how many do I buy for me to be comfortable that I don't need to buy another mask? As long as I follow the instructions that you've laid for us, then I'm okay. 3 are okay, or 2 per, we are talking now to institutions, per every individual. Are they okay? Because there are companies, there are institutions that are looking forward to buying masks for their employees and they don't know how to go about it. It's a bit expensive.
Yeah, to answer you, I think if we package them in twos going forward, that would be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you buy even this one and you use it correctly and decontaminate it correctly, you can use it for a period of 1 month. So long as it is not torn, so long as its shape is not damaged, it retains everything else plus the ear straps.
Yes.
Then you can use it continuously. Yes.
So for the one that you're recommending is the one that we're also recommending to our viewers, the one that you're putting it on.
Yes.
As we wind up, this is your camera. Probably you can again help us with the process of putting on the mask and disposing it, not disposing, sorry, maybe keeping it to use another one the following day, because now we're assuming we are using them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So to explain that, I think I'll have to remove it first.
Yes.
And in removing, I am taking it in my mind that I've done sanitization, that I can still redo it.
Yes.
At home, we may not be having the hand sanitizer.
Use this camera, sir.
At home, we may not be having the hand sanitizers. We recommend soap and running water. Then I remove it like that. That will be the removal. But when I remove it, because I'm not going to dispose of it, then I need to package it in a container, whether it is polythene, so that I take it to a cleaning machine, or I can wash it using hot water and soap. So when I wash it, when I use hot water and soap, then I dry it in the sun for about 8 hours. It is now ready for reuse.
Yes.
So I will assume now it is ready.
Yes.
It is clean. So I want to use it again.
Yes.
I will do my hand sanitization properly. Then I will pick it very well. I will check for any damage on it clearly. Check if it is perforated, the shape remains instant or constant, and then everything else is in place. Then I can use it again. So I will put it on the way I explained. Take the strappings on my ears and adjust to fit, making sure that it covers my nose and my mouth. That is very, very important. So after that, I check if it is covering every other part, including the chin, which is okay. Then I can walk freely in the public. When I want to drink, I will look at the surface. If I'm here, I will sanitize the surface and put it there. And of course, I'll put it with the outer side on, like that. Then I do what I'm doing. Once I'm through, sanitize my hands, pick it up, put it on, and adjust to fit very well like that.
In the evening, wash it.
In the evening, I can wash it.
Okay.
Yes.
I think that's well said. And lastly, this is a very funny question.
Yes.
I want to ask, not me asking our viewer, nimevaa
Yes.
mask, hadi nasikia masikio inaniuma. Should I stop?
Well, those are conditions that you may need to adjust yourselves
Yeah.
to. But also, we may recommend the ties,
Yeah.
such that now the ties go on top of the head and behind the neck. That would be a little bit comfortable for us,
Okay.
instead of this one that goes around the ears. Yeah. But that
Okay.
is for a future recommendation.
For future.
Yes.
Okay, parting shot. We are winding up.
My parting shot is that this disease can only be defeated at the community level. And I want to actually hail the community health workers, the public health officers who are doing contact tracing, who are doing disinfection, who are also doing a lot of surveillance in the community. And I want to tell them that the work is with them now. The message I've given here now is for them to take to every community, every household, and they should take it across the entire country. Yes.
All right, Gamaliel Omondi have learned a lot, and I believe our viewers have also learned a lot. Thank you so much. Probably, if need be, we may call you back to just remind ourselves on how important and how to dispose the mask. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
All right, and thank you all for watching our show tonight. My name is Purity Museo Lusemora, has been our sign language interpreter tonight. Good night. God bless. I hope now you know how to use the mask. Use it wisely. Use the disposable mask. It's cheap and also it's easy to use. Good night. God bless.